the perfect participle and genitive absolute. Let's look at the perfect active participle. The aspect is perfect. The stem is perfect active. We have reduplication as opposed to augment. We have a tense formative of kappa. And the voice is active. The endive is cot plus 313 adjectival endings. And the adverbial translation is having. The formation of the perfect active participle. We begin with a perfect stem. We do have reduplication. And since the perfect stem we're using is lu, reduplication is le. Remember, if the word begins with a consonant, the reduplication will be a reduplication of that consonant followed by epsilon. The tense formative is kappa, followed by a particle morpheme, omicron tau, and ending in 313 adjectival endings. In this case, we're going to lalukatas, having loosed. Let's look at the perfect active participle of luo. And remember, it has 313 endings. The nominative singular, and now remember the participle is an adjective. So the adjective has to be able to attach to a noun that is either masculine, feminine, or neuter, which means we have to have all three of those endings possible. Nominative singular is lalukos. Feminine is laluquia. And the neuter is lalukas. The genitive is lalukatas. And in the third declension, remember, it's the genitive where the full ending is expressed. The feminine is laluquias, and the neuter is lalukatas. The dative is going to be the same with the masculine and neuter, is lalukati, feminine, laluquia, and the neuter, lalukati. The accusative for the masculine is lalukata, the feminine, laluquian, and the neuter, remember the neuter, nominative and accusative are always the same, so the accusative will be lalukas. The nominative plural is lalukates, feminine, laluquiae, and the neuter, lalukata. The neuter in the nominative accusative is always alpha. The genitive plural is lalukaton, masculine, laluquion, feminine, and lalukaton, neuter. Dative, lalukosi in the masculine, laluquiais in the feminine, and lalukasi in the neuter. The accusative, lalukatos, masculine, laluquias, feminine, and lalukata in the neuter. Perfect middle passive participle. The stem is perfect middle passive. Aspect is perfect. The voice is either middle passive or a deponent. And the endings are men plus 212 adjectival endings. And there is no vowel between the stem and the final ending. The translation would be having been. Formation of perfect middle passive participle. We begin with a perfect middle passive stem. We add reduplication, always. Then we add the sign of the middle, which is men. And to that, we finally add 212 adjectival endings. La luminos, having been loosed, masculine. The perfect middle passive participle of luo with its 212 endings. Nominative singular masculine is la luminas, feminine, la lumine, and neuter, la lumina. And then all the rest of it is just what we expect if we remember that we're using just 212 endings at the end. Genitive, la luminu, la lumines, la luminu. Dative, la lumino, la lumine, la lumino. Remember, genitive and dative are always identical in the masculine and the neuter in the 212 declension. Accusative is la lumenon, la lumene, and la lumenon. The plural, masculine, la lumenoi, la lumenai, la lumina. And the genitive is identical all the way through. I mean, we remember that the genitive ending is always own. But in this case, because there's no connecting vowel or anything, they are absolutely identical. In the masculine, feminine, and neuter, all of them are la lumenon. And of course, your first question is, well, wait a minute. They're all three the same. How am I supposed to know which one is which? Context. Dative plural is la lumenois in the masculine, la lumenais in the feminine, and la lumenois in the neuter. And the accusative is la lumenus masculine, la lumenas feminine, and la lumena neuter. One way to remember the participles is as adjectives. And that's because participles are adjectives. So if you remember the way the endings work, that's all you have to remember. The rest of it is just putting the stem in the front of it. So for the perfect active, all we want to do is memorize a nominative of kos, quia, kas. And its genitive, and the genitive is where the real root is expressed. The genitive is katas, quias, katas. So if you just remember those two things, you'll know all the endings. For the middle passive, the endings are 212. So all we do is remember that we have men plus a 212 ending. So we'll memorize it as the nominative being menas, mene, menon, and the genitive being menu, menes, menu. Perfect participle examples using εκβάλλω. Autos eothon ek bebleikos ta daimonion. The noun or pronoun and the participle must agree in person and number. And if we look at the sentence and ask the question, what agrees? The only thing that agrees with the participle, being masculine singular, is autos. So autos must be the word that is associated with the participle. It cannot be daimonion because kos is a masculine singular. Translation is, he came having cast out the demon. Aute eothon ekbiblequia ta daimonion. Once again, we ask the question, what agrees? In this case, aute, feminine singular, agrees with the participle ending quia. She came having cast out the demon. Autas eothon ek blemenas to daimonio. Once again, the question, and autos, masculine singular, goes with the omicron singular ending on the participle, so those two things must go together. He came having been cast out by the demon. Perfect adverbial participle examples by voice. Perfect active. Leukos eblepsen auta. Having loosed, he saw it. Leuquia eblepsen auton. Having loosed, she saw it. Perfect middle passive. Lelumenas eblepsen auta. Having been loosed, he saw it. Lelumene eblepsen auta. Mene, feminine ending. Having been loosed, she saw it. Uses of the adjectival participle. The participle is an adjective, and it can occur in the three forms taken by a Greek adjective. Substantive, used in the place of a noun or pronoun. Attributive, giving attributes to the noun. And predicative, participle in the predicate in the same case as the noun or pronoun. So the substantive, the participle is preceded by the definite article with no noun or pronoun to modify. The attributive, the participle is preceded by the definite article with a noun or pronoun to modify. And the predicative, particle is not preceded by a definite article. The perfect adjectival participle, substantive. The form article participle with no noun to modify. Hallelujos, the one man who has been is destroying. In this case, we have an article in front of a participle, but there is no noun to modify, so the adjectival participle takes on the form of a noun. He leluquia, the one/woman who has been or is destroying. Halelumenas, the one/man who was, has been, is destroyed. And Hallelumene, the woman who was, has been, is destroyed. Perfect adjectival participles in the attributive. The form is article participle, noun, or article noun, article participle. This is the first one is the same form that we use in English. The good man, article, adjective, noun. Or the sitting man, article, participle noun. Hallelujos anthropos. The man who has been is destroying. Anthropos hallelujos. The man who has been is destroying. Perfect adjectival participles in the predicative position. And the form is article noun, no article, participle. If there is no article before the adjective, add an is. Anthropos lelumenas, the man is the one who has been or is destroyed. There is an article in front of the noun, but no article in front of the participle. Therefore, we put an is in. Hegune lelumene. The woman is the one who has been or is destroyed. The genitive absolute, one of the most important grammatical forms in Greek, unique to Greek and extremely important. The genitive absolute serves as a dependent clause. The genitive participle functions as a finite verb, and the optional genitive noun or pronoun functions as its subject. That's why it's called the genitive absolute, because both the participle and the noun are in the genitive. Like all participles, genitive absolutes can take objects or adverbs. In this case, they're functioning as verbs, therefore they can take objects or can have adverbs. Allows two different actors on the stage at the same time, and is usually found at the beginning of a sentence. So let's look at it. The genitive absolute participle becomes the finite verb, and the pronoun in the genitive becomes the subject. So the participle tense stem determines aspect. The present echamenu tu Jesu, Jesus is coming. We say is coming because it is a present stem, which tells us it is continuous. The aorist, elthantas tu Jesu, Jesus came. The stem is aorist and therefore undefined. The perfect, eleluthentas tu Jesu, Jesus has come. The subject of the genitive absolute can be different from the subject of the main verb. Ekhamenu tu Jesu, hegune ekbale to daimonion. The subject of ekbale is feminine and does not match Jesu. And the final translated sentence is, while Jesus is coming, she is casting out the demon. Present continuous. Ekhamenu autu aute exebalen ta daimonion. While he was coming, she cast out the demon. Aorist undefined. Elthontes autu aute exebalen ta daimonion. After he came, she cast out the demon. And the perfect eleluthantes autu aute exebalan to daimonion. After he had come, she cast out the demon. Genitive absolutes within the body of the sentence are often translated with brackets. So, Elthan eis to Polin, and then we have this bracketed part, isothanton auton ede, kai hurin autain. Translate the main clause first. eilthen eis to pollen, kai hurin autain. This is the main clause without the dependent clause, which we're going to look at a little bit later. So we'll translate this first. He came to the city, and then bracket, and found her. Now translate the genitive absolute, which is going to go within the bracket. Eilthen ton auton eide. They had already entered. Put the translation of the genitive absolute in the brackets, and we get, he came to the city, they had already entered, and found her. Periphrastic construction. A periphrastic construction is a roundabout way of saying something, from periphrasein, roundabout way to show. One of the most common uses is the verb eimi, followed by a participle. Rather than using the internal aspect of the tense, the aspect is mimicked with a helping verb. The periphrastic construction, proper ways and improper ways to use it. The correct use in Greek is one which emphasizes the durative aspect of perfects. The perfect passive of grapho is often used in reference to scriptures. Estin gramena, it is being written, emphasizes the present result. So estin emphasizes the present. Remember that the perfect has both the past completed continuing into the present. So this form of the construction is going to emphasize the present. Ein gegemene is it was written, emphasizing the completed past action. The incorrect use, which is common in Koine, is using the periphrastic in place of the tense aspect. Ein echamenas in place of the imperfect erchata, both of them meaning he was coming. But erchata is a verb with aspect and person built into the verb. Very elegant. As an exegete, you would want to show whether or not the periphrastic form was being used to emphasize the aspect of the verb, or whether it was just sloppy grammar. Finally, I want to show you how the different periphrastic verbs are used in Greek. The periphrastic verb consists of a tense of eimi plus the tense of the participle. So, we're going to look at tense, meaning the verb form, that is, if it's non-periphrastic, the verb that could do the whole thing, and its periphrastic form. For the present, using luo, he is loosing is either lue, and this is the correct one, this is the present tense, which has the built-in aspect, or the periphrastic form, which is estin luon, is loosing. And this is very much the way English works. Because we do not have aspect built into our verbs, we have to express it in the periphrastic form. Greek does not. Elegant Greek would never use the periphrastic form. The imperfect, he was loosing. The verb form to this is the imperfect, aluen. Its periphrastic form, as you would probably predict, is ein luon, was loosing. The future, he will loose, its verb form, the future form, is loose, he will loose. The periphrastic form will use the future of eimi, esetai, plus the participle, Esitai luo.